I've been in the space industry for a few years now. I am working with D-Orbit in Italy for 1 year. And I was previously working for Thales Alenia Space in New Delhi in sales and business development. I've been graduated with an aerospace management degree from Toulouse Business School, and I mean, I've always been interested into space in general, which is a very, very broad topic. When I was a kid, I used to think that space was a dreamy place where everything is possible with very far galaxies and unknown planets. Growing up, well, this idea hasn't changed, but facing the last and the recent challenges we had on Earth these past years, such as natural disasters, sanitary crises, and all these challenges, I became more and more aware of my place on Earth and my surrounding ecosystem. And right now, I want to take a statement before starting this presentation by saying that for me, I came to a conclusion that Earth and space are part of one big ecosystem, and we should treat them in the same way. So I will share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, I confirm we can see it, Pauline.
Okay, perfect. So having said that, I will take a very simple case on Earth. Can you imagine if you have a truck going from a point A to a point B for whatever reason, like transporting a delivery, and we haven't built any infrastructure like a refueling station, for example? Can you imagine what would happen? Well, that's very simple. This truck would end up on a big pile of waste with hundreds of millions of other vehicles. Because of a limited lifetime, we will have to start doing mass production that will end up having a high quantity of waste, very, very faster resources saturation, and obviously less profitability. So now, can you imagine replacing this truck with a spacecraft? Well, that's what's happening right now in space. So my point is, let's learn from our mistakes or our improvements as well that we've made on Earth, and let's save time and go straight to the point where we consider sustainable development as the only option. Let's not think about how to reach the point as fast as possible. Let's think about how can we combine efficiency, profitability, and less use of the resources. And how to do that? Well, we have the greatest example of all that's just below our feet, which is Earth. We have an efficient, sustainable production system that has an experience of more than 3.8 billion years. So great, Biosphere has done a great job. It's a planetary production system that has local, cooperative, interconnected, and interdependent loops. And that's just the basic definition of circular economy, because circular economy is inspired by the living. So circular economy, if we can just do a little bit of history here. What is circular economy? Circular economy concept was born in 1960 with Kenneth Baldwin that defined the Earth as a spaceship's Earth. So meaning that he was considering our planet as a space vessel with limited resources and an autonomy at stakes. And that's how he written about we need to have a sober, efficient use of resources and waste management. Later on, a lot of economists have defined this concept that, by the way, is called umbrella concept, because you can think about so many things going under circular economy. But just to talk about a few of them, so in the early 2000s, Style, McDonald, and Boken have defined some fundamental strategies slowing the loop of resources by extending the lifetime of products, so repairing and refurbishing. That's the one of the 3 R that define the circular economy. That's the reuse one. Then closing the resources loop between the end of use and the production. This is the recycling one. And then reducing and changing our way of using the products to reduce the consumption and the amount of waste. And I will add one last person that I want to quote, which is Ellen MacArthur. So 5 years after being the fastest solo sailor, she built, thanks to her experience in traveling and traveling in solo around the planet, she has built the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is a foundation that tries to promote the benefits of circular economy and to involve everyone and everything, business, governments, individuals. By the way, I invite you to have a look if you are interested in circular economy in general. I invite you to have a look to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, which is really insightful. And yeah, so circular economy, the benefits are multiple. Well, protecting our ecosystem, and when I say ecosystem, I mean space and Earth, as you may have understood. Reducing our dependency on the raw materials, and the most important is to build more resilient businesses, meaning being prepared to the unexpected changes. Could be geopolitical changes, could be natural disaster changes, could be, well, in space, I think we can think about a lot of unexpected changes. So we can use circular economy in space, and we need. That's really important. So I'm going to talk about a few examples of what's already being done in space right now in terms of technologies. This is a non-exhaustive list. There are plenty of concepts in the market right now. I will speak just about a few of them. So the Space Garage, which is done by the Space Concept Laboratory in Toulouse, hosted in the ISAE Superior School. It's a research project that aims to give a second life to satellites, having a Space Garage station in orbit to do maintenance, recycling, and using artificial intelligence for independent interventions. We can also speak about the ESA Clean Space, initiative with the Clear Space 1 mission planned for 2025 with the Clear Space Suite startup, which aims to do rendezvous, capture, bring down a large object, and perform a safe re-entry. And we can also speak about the NASA OSAM-1, which is also planned for 2025 in LEO, which is a servicer to do a rendezvous, refuel, and relocation of a government satellite in order to extend the life of the satellite. We can also speak about business models that take inspiration from the circular economy. Well, the first one being satellite as a service. This is completely born from the concept of circular economy. Satellite as a service, for me, is one of the pioneer of the new space area. It allows the customer to have access to services or data without building any spacecraft. So you can name a lot of companies that are using this business model right now in space, mainly Earth observation company like Planet, Black Sky, ICEYE, or telecoms company as well. You can also think about leasing and rideshare for the launching business. This is also a type of satellite as a service. So basically, you can have multiple customers using one platform to be launched. So you can think about the classic SpaceX rideshare program or the Rocket Lab rideshare program, but also the OTV companies like Deorbit doing rideshare to transport the CubeSats directly in orbit. One other business model we can think about is the per-use or per-performance, which is when a customer is specifically paying for a service rather than an upfront investment. Well, the best example for this one is the hosted payload market. So you have, well, again, Deorbit, Loft Orbital, but also NanoRacks, for example, who gives access to ISS for research and development. And also one I wanted to add is the product use extension, which is, I would say, more a way of thinking when you are developing a new project in space, is the principle of using what you already have in space. So using your assets that are already flying. Deorbit as well is doing that. I will talk about that later. So all of these technologies, business models, concepts are paving the way of the future of space economy. And that's a vision shared by Luca Rossettini, the CEO of Deorbit that I joined 1 year ago. So Deorbit vision is creating the first space logistics infrastructure to enable the $1 trillion space economy and human expansion in sustainable space. That's, to be honest, one of the main reasons why I joined this company. Just to give you a quick overview of who is Deorbit. Deorbit right now, it's more than 200, I think we are reaching 250 employees right now. The headquarters is in Como in Italy, near to the lake, really nice. We have also offices in Portugal, UK, and a commercial subsidiary in Washington, in USA. It's a leader in space logistics and orbital transportation, created in 2012, so 11 years now. It was the first company demonstrating satellite as a service business model we talked about just before in space. It's also the first company that became the first space company becoming a B Corp certified. So B Corp, if you never heard about it, is a certification for high standards in societal, environmental for company, and most importantly for transparency of information. So Deorbit is core business is the launch and deployment service, which is basically to have an ION platform who can provide transportation of microsatellites up to 160 kilograms or CubeSats from ground to directly to independent precise orbits, and do as well perform maneuvers. So this is the core business running right now with 9 missions already flying. But then, this is where we come to circular economy. This ION platform performing launch and deployment services is joining a growing fleet of multi-purpose spacecraft to perform secondary missions. So we are reusing the assets in space to perform additional services. For example, in-orbit validation and demonstration, hosted payloads, satellite for rent, or we are also developing the space cloud computing infrastructure with 2 intelligent nodes already flying. What we call intelligent nodes are basically, so this ION platform capable of performing processing of data directly in orbit. So the fact is that I like this model because we are reusing assets in space. And having a scalable and modular platform allows us to design the future mission of in-orbit servicing. What I mean in-orbit servicing, it means transportation, refueling, maintenance, emergency interventions, disposal, active debris removal as well. We are starting in the next years by life extensions, so AOCS covering clinician change and active debris removal. So these technologies are the step to get money and knowledge in order to reach a circular economy. When I mean knowledge, I mean rendezvous, capture, a lot of very, very specific and challenging technologies that are needed, but also operations, and implementing new type of business model, because in-orbit servicing will be for sure challenging in terms of how we build and how we interact with customer. So yes, this is paving the way to have to close the loop and have a real, let's say, circular economy in space, and going forwards in the future with projects like recycling, manufacturing, and all the space logistics infrastructure like the space garage we have seen before. So I think we cannot expect to increase our presence in outer space without thinking about these questions first. I do think that circular economy means a shift. It's a shift in terms of how we are doing things, how we are thinking in the first way. It's a shift in our behavior as well. And I think that we also need to invest more in infrastructure and logistics in general in space. And I want to finish by saying that we can be active, of course, but we also need to think about having less impact on Earth and in space. Thanks a lot. That's it for me. If you have any question, of course.
All right, wonderful. So thank you, Apolline, for the presentation. Obviously, it was very insightful and engaging as well to that point. So let me move into a couple of questions for you. I have already prepared here. So,
sorry, I didn't see the time. It went really, really fast.
That's fine. That's no problem.
I spoke too fast. Sorry.
No, that was good. That was good. The tempo was good. The most important thing is the information that you convey, which was just spot on. So, and there is a question already from the audience as well. What is the biggest obstacle you think to realize recycling in space? That's a question from Yoshikawa.
Okay, thanks for your question. I think that's obviously the biggest, well, not obviously, but the biggest obstacle for me is about technology, but also about resources. As I said, I do believe that we need to consider Earth and space as similar and behaving in a similar way. And we are reaching right now on Earth a lot of boundaries in terms of resources. I think we will face the same issues in space. So I think in terms of resources, especially energy, it's going to be really, really challenging. For me, this is the biggest obstacle.
Wonderful, perfect. So thank you for that answer. And there's another question from one of our previous panelists. So Felipe is asking, it's more of a statement than a question, but I want to make it into a question for you. So
Okay.
he says that this model is very attractive, but it will only work if ESA or NASA gets behind it and imposes it. So how do you feel about that, Pauline, and how do you think we can get NASA and ESA to really impose that as well? So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay. I do believe that collaboration between public and private is essential. It will not work if we are not collaborating and if we are not pushed by the institutionals. But impose, I'm not sure. I don't know what you mean by impose. You mean like policies, this kind of like laws, or do you mean economics, sanctions, whatever? I think we should we need to collaborate between private and public, but I think we also need, as individuals, to take action. And I do believe that private can invest in this kind of project. I think that right now, most of these missions for in-orbit servicing are pushed by the institutionals, and it's not going fast enough in general. It's still at the concept stage. So I do think that being pushed by private would help a lot.
Perfect. Wonderful. Yeah. So Felipe commented that, yes, he means economic sanctions. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I'm too naive to think that it will work without sanctions. But okay. Yes, indeed, it will help to have some more policy background. Indeed, yes.
Perfect. Yes, we do agree on that, everybody collectively. So government support is always, again, necessary in that term.
Of course.
So there is another question from another of our previous panelists, Srinath from Telespacio, and he's asking, can you let us know how more about the orbit supporting the satellite operators in cislunar economy? So that's a question. And how does the orbit support that? Is it refueling? That's a question.
The first step we are taking, if you're speaking about supporting satellite operators, the first step we are taking right now is within the in-orbit servicing is life extension. So not refueling yet, but extending the life of the existing satellites that are already in orbit. So meaning AOCS takeover, inclination change. This is something that's challenging missions for sure. We are right now in design phases. We are working with satellite operators to get requirements, feedback from the market, but this is something that we are really ambitious on, and I think it will happen in the next years. For sure it will happen. I don't think it will. It will.
Perfect. Good. Looking forward to that. So there's another question from Enrique. And he is asking, can this recycling process be completely automated, or do you think actual astronauts needed to be present at the point of this process to make it fully happen?
Yeah, so I've read a lot about that, about the use of the artificial intelligence and new technologies in general. And it looks like we can automate a lot of things thanks to AI. I don't think we will need astronauts to be present at any point. Let's see. I think it will differ from the concepts, but I do think it's possible to be completely automated.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right. So that's awesome. So I have another question that now personally from my side. Okay. So in your opinion, Apolline, so what are some of the biggest risks and challenges facing businesses in the space industry looking to adopt cislunar economy principles? And how do you think that these issues and opportunities can be addressed?
Okay, so if I got your question well, you are asking for in terms of business, the challenges that the people, the new entries,
poses for the companies.
In terms of circular economy, or just in terms
Just
of entering
overall,
the
like
new space?
establishing the cislunar economy, meaning in terms of the lunar activities from a private side of the companies.
Yeah, well, it's different from the countries, of course. I'm coming from a European framework, which I think is more difficult than the US one in terms of private, because, well, we are facing the fact that institutionals are still leading. It's really hard to, we don't have we don't have a lot of investment from the private sector. And this is, I think, slowing the process. I think this is one of the most biggest challenge we have right now. But yeah, again, it differs from the country. When I was in India, it was a bit different. I think the biggest challenge was it's kind of similar, but it was the the legal framework to develop your space startup, and the fact that again, the institutional in India are really well, where it's changing, but they have been for the past years really leading the space progress and the space industry. So I think we have plenty of brilliant brains and brilliant people ready to develop technologies that are completely fitting with this circular economy, because let's not deny the fact is that circular economy is also relying a lot on our efforts in terms of technology developments. So maybe we will need a little bit more of push and financial push for this kind of project to develop the right technologies.
And you believe the government should be behind, again, that financial push, right, for the companies?
Yes.
Perfect, wonderful. All right, so there is another question from Claude Nicolier. So our dear last year speaker and a good good famous individual, as he was part of the 2 Hubble servicing missions as an astronaut. So the question is, Hubble Space Telescope was designed to be serviced on orbit, and it successfully happened 5 times with the shuttle and 8 astronauts, including 2 where Claude was himself part of. So can you really think of robotically servicing a satellite that was not specifically designed to be serviced in the space environment? So that's a question.
Yes, that's another issue, the last part of the question. Well, first of all, I'm really honored to have a question from one of the astronauts that was there. But the fact is that one thing we are going to face in terms of technology issue is the fact that, as you said, Claude, most of the existing satellites doesn't have the interfaces to be refueled, for example. So I don't know. I mean, I think we can find way of dealing with that. It might take more time to be fully automated. I think that for specific use case like life extensions, it can be robotically serviced without any issue. But for some very specific use cases like refueling, where interfaces are really important, it might be more challenging and might take more time.